Well, what's up, guys? It's Cutter28 here with 4 Next Level Gamers, and I have a very special guest with me today, Frontier executive producer of Zoo Tycoon, Jorg Neumann. Jorg, thank you very much for joining me today.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. Yourself?
Very good, thank you.
Great. Now, we're here to talk about Zoo Tycoon, and I want to start off by, is Zoo Tycoon a sequel to Zoo Tycoon 2, or is this a fresh start for the franchise?
I think it's a spiritual successor of Zoo Tycoon 2 is the right way to say it. We're very aware that there's millions of fans of the original game and the sequel. We've been talking to them ever since I think the last expansion came out in 2008. There's been a good ongoing conversation with the fans out there, and they've always said, "Hey, when are you going to make the next one? When are you going to make the next one?" And we've been thinking about it for a while. We talked about it actually for a brief duration during the 360 days, and ultimately we decided that it's if you want to do justice to the franchise, let's really take it to the next level. Wait for the next hardware rev, which is Xbox One, and really truly reimagine it. That said, it is wholly based in the original series. If you look at the structure of the game between the campaign mode and the challenge mode and the free-for-all mode, it's a continuation in many ways of what has been there before, and it's the objective of the game to make people who love Zoo Tycoon in the past, to make them feel right at home and have a great time.
That's perfect. Recent games and past games, some of my favorite games from the Frontier series have been like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Thrillville, and then you guys have kind of jumped ahead into Connectimals and Disney Adventures. Learning from those aspects of those games, what have you learned to kind of advance what you're doing here with Zoo Tycoon?
I mean, I would say it this way. I always thought, like back in 2008 when we talked to Frontier about Zoo, we thought they were the perfect developer for a number of reasons. A, what you just said. It's the roller coaster heritage and then Thrillville, which were both great.
Right.
They also made Dog's Life back in the day, 2003 or something like that. And what really enabled them is basically understanding of a park and what makes a park great, what makes a sim great, and what makes animals great, because there's very, very few companies in our industry that can actually do animals awesome. And so there's a series of like Zoo Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2003, Thrillville in 2006 and 7, I think is when they worked on those. And then ultimately we used a lot of that knowledge about how to make a park when we made Disneyland Adventures with them. I think we learned something from Disneyland and from the Disney Imagineers in particular, how to make a park really emote. Like to really section it off and have it feel like there's really Adventureland over here and there's Fantasyland over here. And what does that take? And how do you make it feel emotively compelling beyond just the sim? So I think that was added with the Disneyland game.
Right.
And then this whole other thread, which is the Dog's Life, Connectimals now with Bears. I think Frontier has honed to the top of the industry how to make specific quadrupeds and furry animals look amazing. And it's not, back in the zoo days, I think we did a good job, Blue Fang and Microsoft, to make animals look reasonable at the time of the technology. Now, the animals now, they look just awesome. Totally real. I think not just the rendering, but also the behavior. And there's a set of an exceptional animation team that literally watches, the project and I we're watching YouTube videos all the time, and the animation team studies all this, and really take animals to a level that has never been done before, and ultimately dial it a lot back from the sort of the anthropomorphic animals in Connectimals, but keep the over animation a little bit, because you need to pick that up. If you it's almost like a walk cycle. If you make it just too normal, it doesn't even have a persona. It doesn't really come across. So you over animate a little, and that's, I think, we found that right balance now. The zoo animals feel truly real. I was at a zoo right after Gamescom. I went from Cologne to Vienna and went to the Vienna Zoo, and what made me happier than anything is just how right we're getting the zoos with this game. It feels just right. It's not gimmicky or goofy, looking animals that are looking like they're human somehow. It looks like a real rhino. It looks like a real giraffe, and it acts right. Yeah. And I think I'm super proud of what's being achieved right now.
That's great. Now, you touched on the animals. How many animals are we going to be experiencing within the game? And anything as far as like the marine life coming into the aspect of the animals?
Did you play the original series then? So we have over 100. So one of the things we're very conscious of is, the original games launched with, I think, 30, and then we made expansion packs,
Right.
like 25 a pop, basically. And we said, look, it's really important to give breadth and to make it substantive, right? So when we said, let's make another Zoo Tycoon, we said, let's go all in. Let's make a really big game. And with that comes really a very broad breadth of animals. And so you answer your specific question. So it's over 100.
Okay.
The marine animals, we had a few planned, and we actually said it's better to do it justice with a future release.
Okay.
So we're holding that, and I think we're going to go in deep on that one as well once we get to it.
So DLC is already kind of in the foreseeable future.
We love animals.
Yeah.
We definitely want to make more.
That's great. You touched on the single-player campaign a little bit. Can we go into more detail? How do you get the players engaged so we keep going? From what I understand, it's not a short campaign either. It's rather lengthy.
Yeah, it's very. If you play Zoo 2 at all, Zoo 2's campaign was maybe 10 hours long, depending on how you played it. It's very similar. So it takes you across the planet. It starts out pretty moderate. It's the typical. There's a zoo that you inherited, kind of, and you have to basically build it back up because those people didn't know what you're doing. And then it goes around the globe with 20 different zoos, and ultimately you have to manage something really, really vast and build like the most awesome zoo ever. And that's when you come to the end of the campaign. We're playing it right now. It's some people finish it in 10. Most people actually love animals and go have, they go deep because it's a simulation, right? So they go 15 hours or plus.
Right. Now, it's also more than just a simulation as well. From what I've seen is you can get the top-down view, but you can also go from the bird's eye view down into the third-person view, and from that even into a first-person view. How does that work exactly?
Yeah, I mean, so if the series, Zoo Tycoon 1 was just third person, and then people wanted to get a little bit closer, and so in Zoo 2 we had this little animal camera, which really didn't get you much, but you could at least get closer to the animals that you just placed and that you care for. And what we said earlier, we really want to make this emotive to the degree that you can invest yourself in this game however you want to. There are people that I believe, will play the game just from Tycoon view, have a good time, just a sim for them. Some people, and I see it actually quite a bit right now, they immediately go to what we call zookeeper view and run around, and there's buggies to drive and buggy races to be had, and you basically just jet around your zoo, sort of like as the zookeeper himself. And then the interactions, we have Connect HD, and Connect HD is significantly better than Connect. And, you already talked about the history of Frontier. We've done 4 Connect games now, and I think we're getting better every time. One of the things we've learned was Connect is magical, absolutely magical, if you use it in magic moments. If you force everything in the game through Connect, it kind of loses maybe some of its potential. Mm-hmm. So we are focusing on really just truly the magical moments in this game. So you walk up or drive up to an enclosure or a natural habitat, as we call it,
right.
And there's essentially there's a couple of options you have. There's a water hose. You can basically clean the animals with Connect interactions. You don't have to. You can also do it with a controller, but Connect is honestly more fun and more immersive. There's feeding interactions that you can do, so you can hold out your hand and pick from different foods and offer those to the animals, and they come over and basically pick them off your hands. It's nice. And then my favorite one is what we saw, back in the 360 days, you always said monkey see, monkey do, at least internally. I don't know if that ever went out to the public, but this is now finally a game where we actually have monkeys. And so there's a monkey, it walks up to sort of this glass, and then it's really close to you, and you see your own reflection in the glass, and you start acting out, and the monkey is basically mimicking you. And with Connect HD, this resolution is so good that we can now basically wink or smile or just blink with your eyes, and the monkey completely understands all that and tries to mimic you. It's super. I mean, it's heartwarming to see it. It's the most personal connection I've certainly ever had to anything in a game.
That sounds absolutely incredible. I've seen the game a little bit in action, and it graphically is amazing.
Cool, thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about the multiplayer as well. Is there a multiplayer? Can I have couch co-op, friends over, or is it just done through Xbox Live? How does that work?
It's done to Xbox Live. So I mean, we looked at multiplayer on the couch, and honestly, split screen is not awesome when you do it, because you really want to see the vastness of your zoo and the animals in their full glory. So what we said is Xbox Live is online. There's a community of people all over the world, and you can play with the community. So it's couch co-op, up to 4 people. It's actually everybody on your friends list, quite frankly, and it's almost like a lobby system. So there's 4 slots that are open, and then people can basically opt in. And what's awesome about that is, all the Tycoon games are always a single-player game. Cool, but it's a little lonely. Like I built many zoos myself back in the day, and the only thing you could really ever do was like make a video of what you did and put it up on YouTube.
That's
Best
right.
case, and most people didn't even do that. Now I can go and say, hey, let's build a zoo together, and I say, build in the southern area, and I'm building like my jungle, and a friend of mine builds like the polar area somewhere in the north or something like that, and we can do it simultaneously. And what's cool about, for example, with between Microsoft and Frontier right now is we can basically build a zoo, say here in America in the daytime, and go to bed, put up the zoo in the cloud. Frontier picks it up while I'm sleeping. They keep building, and then it's like this really awesome discovery process of like, what has somebody else built? Like, what have your friends done? And how is it going? You can surprise each other. It's great. It's what the franchise always. It's what will take Tycoon games to the next level. Honestly,
It sounds like it. That's for sure. Now you touched a little bit on transportation with the buggies and stuff. Is there other ways to get around the zoo, and how do we get our guests from one section from the zoo to the other? Do they just wander and make their way through it, or?
yeah. Guests wander based on attractions. So if there's successful attractions, right, when you take care of the animals are happy. Guests walk towards those enclosures and basically agglomerate around them, start cheering, to see the popularity that is going on, that you're achieving with making the animals happy. But as I'm sure you know, is the fundamental game loop is make animals happy, happy animals make guests happy guests give you donations, and with those donations you can get more animals and build a better and greater zoo. So that's the loop, and the loop is visualized in the game by both the animals actually showing happy animations, so they're much more upbeat when they walk or when they eat and stuff, and then the guests streaming towards that, so you get a direct visual input of like how things are going. And as far as your transportation, I mean, you can always jet up to Tycoon View and go very, very quickly, zoom around the zoo. I mean, the zoos are huge, by the way, 2 by 2 kilometers, crazy,
Yeah,
crazy
that's
big.
very large.
But in that mode, you can really get from one side to the other in, I don't know, like 15 seconds maybe.
Right.
And with the buggy, it takes a while, but it's very immersive, right? You're like seeing everything, and all the sights and sounds are really cool. But those are the main modes to get around.
Okay.